Here we go again with the walk you talk. We're walking and we're probably going to do some talking is what I'm figuring.
We hope that you guys are getting some walks in too. If you're in an area where the seasons are changing, it's so beautiful. And you might be in a part of the world where the seasons don't change much. We encourage you still to get out there and walk if you can. It gets the mind moving, and this is why we do Walk Your Talk. It's a place where we can tell you about what's happening over here in our household with our high schooler, as well as all the transformations and struggles and challenges that we can talk about from our students and our coaches. As we move from taking our theme of the semester about what are our distractors, what keeps us from doing the things that we need to do, and moving into what are our motivators. So as parents of a high schooler, this is Michael John and I'm Jaz Mannion with Just Two Tutoring and Coaching, and we're here to bring you some stories and info in our walk to talk today.
Yeah, we're walking because we don't really have much to do. It's not a busy day at all, right? We don't have anything going on today, do we? Today's a very special day. It's a birthday in our house, and that could be an interesting topic. I mean, when you have teenagers, and it's a very special day where there's an opportunity to really pay attention to them. How are they receiving that attention, and what's just the right amount of
Attention.
Mom and dad attention to a day that's really special for us, of course, and certainly special to the team too. But it's a delicate walk that we're on in the sense teens don't like too much emphasis on when they were little, just enough. They like to really focus on who they are right now. And who they are right now is a little bit undefined. So it puts us all in a bit of a tricky situation. I just want to acknowledge that. And maybe you guys will have a birthday in your house coming up soon, or maybe you just had one recently. Can you kind of relate to sort of like, we still want to be a kid, but we don't want to always be treated like a kid, and just trying to find that delicate balance. I wish I could tell you what the secret is. I think it's just being, try to be as aware as you can be in every moment.
Being available. I sat next to our sweet 16 in her bed, just hung out. She was doing homework. I was maybe folding some clothes. And within about 5 minutes, she started talking with me, right? And that's pretty much magic when that can happen. So getting in their zone is what we call it, and I experienced that leading up to this birthday, and I was grateful.
When you're talking with Runa, do you find yourself moving back and forth between listening and fixing and
well, actually I've learned to not fix and not go to solution hardly at all. You can come around to it, and there is a technique that we work in terms of communication in our parent coaching here at Just Two, and at the end of that communication technique, it's called summarizing, and that's where you can pivot into a solution or an option. You can ask questions that help them understand like where they are in the continuum or options that they have. They can rate their feeling, and so in summarizing, yes, you can say, well. And this is what I did with our daughter is, thanks for sharing that with me. It's really, it seems like it's very important to you, and it's important to me to know that. And we talked that through a bunch. Do you feel like you have more to say, or do you feel like you said what you needed to say about that? And that really helps. Just looking for our puppy Sunny, see him back there. Yep. That really helps move forward. And have some ground around, well, what are we going to do about this after the listening has occurred? But if I jump too quick into solution or fixing, it kind of shuts down the talk and causes a little friction or tension.
I think there's something important around relating to your teen, your young person, on just the sensation that what's important to you is important to me.
Yeah. And even just saying that, thank you for talking to me about this. I get that it's important to you, and that's important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the reflection part of the communication technique that is really useful when you're connecting with your young person. And we can get more into that. We also have a tool that we put together that supports parents to learn some phrasing that doesn't sound so parentese, or technique-wise, it doesn't sound so forced. So if you want that tool, you can connect with us at connect@just2tutoring.com. Mike will put the link on for you. But I would like to get back to our semester success themes because I feel like it's a really great kind of weaving through the semester. We did a distraction survey with students, and I work with a college student who's well on their way, junior in college, and has just struggled to understand why they are challenged so much, and they're very self-critical. And so ADHD is definitely something that they're very aware of, that they deal with, and along with that comes the executive function challenges, where organization of mind, time management is difficult. And making a plan can be so frustrating for the student. And so what we started to understand was, in looking back over last weekend and in doing the distraction survey, there was some material to talk about. There was something to get into rather than just continue to ask questions or say, well, have you tried that, and such, again, because that gets to solution and you lose the thought processes that you can dig into. So the semester success themes of distraction and building routine, like what are distractors, we've dove into them. So if you haven't yet, please do. And if you want that distraction survey, let us know. We'll send it to you.
Yeah, and check out the results of the distraction survey.
Yeah.
Here. Because the number one, by far, the number one choice that students made, selection that they made when it came to identifying their distractions while studying was, wait for it, parent interruptions.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
So, I think that says something right there, right? So if you're a parent who is engaged and, you're minding your child, you're likely going to check in on them at some point.
Yeah.
And what does that really look like? I also, want to say that sometimes teens, they take every opportunity to sort of dig.
Yeah, they
so
do.
just know,
Dig.
I wouldn't take
Yeah,
it,
to parents.
too much to heart. But if you're the kind of person, kind of parent who, find yourself checking in frequently with your young person, maybe that's something to think about in regard to.
Yeah.
Is it an interruption or is it a support of sustained focus?
Some tips to that is scheduling in when you're going to check in. So if there's a period of time where you're expecting your student to be working, focusing, they're like, oh, I'm going to go do homework. Get up, take out the gray area in this whole deal and say, all right, in 45 minutes, how about you pop your head out and tell me how it's going? Have them start to self-initiate. If that's too much of a leap, you can say, I'll check in with you in this amount of time. And what is it that you're going to focus on so I know how to check in with you?
I'll bring you a grilled cheese in about 25 minutes. How's
There you
that
go.
sound?
There's that, right? So you can even take out the word check-in. And yet you have to have some sustenance to check in about, right? So find out what they're going to focus on. Maybe it's history. Maybe it's writing, LA stuff. Who knows?
And if you have a Just Two coach, all you would have to do is reference the CPAL and you wouldn't even have to ask those questions.
Yep. Some parents, so I've been working with a family where they got a desktop whiteboard, and the young person and the mom would just write down what the plan is so that they could start to check, like they have a path, a ground, to check in about. And so having something visual tends to be very helpful when you're concerned about, is my kid doing what they said they were going to do? Well, first we need to understand what is it that they're going to focus on. So jotting some things down and making a visual is really helpful. Our tools support that for families, and you can simply get out a whiteboard to get started to decrease those frustrations around, well, my kid just is getting annoyed with me, you know?
I'm gonna give you a phrase that I hope that you find helpful. It is intended to diffuse the situation we're describing. All you need to say to your young person is, look, I don't need to know.
Yeah.
I just need to know that you know. I'm not interrogating you. I'm asking you to tell me things. I'm asking you to verify that you are clear in where your focus and your personal expectations are today. That's all, right? So sometimes you can help your young person just by saying, hey, it's not that I need to know this information. I just need to know that you need to,
Yeah.
that you know.
And when we're both in the know, parents and young people, then you have a space to connect.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not about you nagging them.
Like
We're walking uphill right now, so we're a little out of breath.
I'm not.
I hear you out of breath.
I'm not.
We're at 9,100 feet up in the Rocky Mountains. You can see the yellow leaves behind us. Oh my goodness.
You're just
blue
giving a
sky.
preview of probably what you'll see at your place in a few weeks.
Yeah. If you're down the hill from us or on the East Coast, your leaves are about to change. So get in the know and understand what it is they know. Make something visual. This will help build more of that routine and help decrease connection, help increase connection, but decrease the frustrations, that naggy way that maybe you feel as a parent, and start to parent the executive functions of time management, pacing, knowing what we need to know, communication about that. Then, the distractor piece is all about that executive function of inhibition. We'll get more into that as we talk over the next few videos, because students are beginning to understand, oh yeah, I do spend a lot of time doing fill in the blank. And you see any studies, government studies out there, as well as, district studies and scientific studies, managed screens. It's all about being on screens, and there's distractors with chats. Our students are not necessarily going to be forthright about that, so we dive into, well, what is happening with that, and let's collect some data so that there's some actual, real information rather than I'm never or you are always.
By the way, if you're a person who's really passionate on this topic of screen management, screen exposure, the shifting of schools to screens, check out this new report. Was led by a guy, his last name is MacArthur, and he has a lot to say about the importance of not losing our access to printed text, printed material on paper, and that there's a recent neuroscience study that indicates that clearly we learn better when we read in print on paper versus on screens. I'm not saying that that's a soapbox for me, but it might be something that's important to you. So check it out. It's a brand new study that was just completed recently.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, there's some really useful stuff out there. We can point you towards them. And if you know of anything, put them in our socials and say, hey parents, check this out. Or email us back and we might add it to one of our videos. We really appreciate crowdsourcing our info. The other thing is, when we're looking at distractors or how we do something, how we think, how we act, it's all about self-knowing, right? Like how we get to know ourselves as we develop through our young life. And as parents, you getting to know yourself as well. In a sense, some parents have told us, wow, I get to see my kid in a different way now. And I don't have to parent the way that I was parented, right? So that's what we do here at Just Two. We're supporting you as a whole family, getting results as a whole family, but work in the class stuff, the class requirements. It looks like math tutoring, but underneath, it's all about self-knowing training the executive functions at the right pace for the student, bridging those gaps in learning, how we learn best, and it helps us get connected, right, as parents and our kids, because we can start to see them becoming more independent and autonomous, and know where we fit in, where they need the most support.
And that lets you as a parent be yourself and let your kid get to know who you really are.
Yeah. Outside of that nag, or that my mom just keeps interrupting me, right? Or my dad doesn't trust me that I said what I said and that it's actually true. So just who we're evidence-based with compassion, right?
Yeah.
And so our coaches work that way, and we help our parents move into that, so that it's not really just on, oh, you said, because sometimes our kids who have mental blocks, ADHD, they have executive function challenges, or they're at a high level of performance and they're juggling sports, performing arts, school, AP classes, the stress is rising, right? And so our output and the feelings about ourselves can get kind of messy. So we want to move into the semester success theme about how we like to be cared for, right? What motivates us to change something up, or to, move in a different way.
So if it's your birthday, for example, how do you want, what's the best way for you to be acknowledged?
Yeah.
Like, what's the way that you're going to receive that best? Birthday's a good example.
Yeah. We use a survey called Love Language. You might be familiar. It's been out for a while.
Not our idea.
I know. So Love Language, but is something that you can just type it in and take your own survey as an adult. You can sit down and do it with your team. And if you're a Just 2 student, you're doing it within your session to understand, well, what we translate it to is, what's your currency? What moves you, right? So if it's your birthday, like it is at our house this week, is it quality time? Is it just time with your parents and time with your friends and doing fun things? Is it service, right? Like, I believe our daughter really likes us to do things for her and with her. It's not necessarily about the gifts, but that's fun too. So what motivates you and moves you forward? Getting to know that about yourself is really important, especially in this parent-child relationship in these teen years, even the tween years and young adult world. Knowing how your young person likes to be cared for helps you support them to be a change maker, to change their habits, to shift into stronger skill sets. So that's what we're up to over here.
It's also access to a greater understanding of social intelligence, which is really important at this time as we sort of continue to recover from our COVID years. Social development, in the sense that if I understand myself a little bit better, maybe whether you like the idea of love languages or not, try to get behind what we're trying to say here. Just an understanding of ourselves around how we choose to be acknowledged. So if that develops and starts to become clear for the individual, the possibility of thoughtfulness around how other people choose to be cared for, that possibility opens up. And now we've got a greater sense of not only ourselves, but the people around us, and we're supporting that development of social intelligence.
Which translates to communication to teachers and communication to parents, not holding back. Engagement. Understanding how a hyper-focused or inattentively focused mind works, and being able to have a leg up or a bridge to connecting better.
And potentially even being a person who moves into leadership in the future. I mean, consider really what this is all about. It's a masterclass in building our kids into great leaders because they know themselves well. They're wise. They know how to access information. They know how to self-regulate, self-initiate, and engage.
And you as parents understand best ways to speak, right? How to connect in a way that doesn't trigger the always response that you might get, that you kind of both trained each other to be in. Because you're learning how best to connect and communicate with your young person as well. And we practiced that this past week when our high schooler received communication from a teacher about how they were performing inside their writing responsibilities for their course. And we were able to connect without condemning or making wrong, immediately going to consequence, and listened. They were able to communicate to their teacher and find out what's the best way to do this here, and I didn't understand this, and I've been stressed, so I kind of took a shortcut. So it didn't have to be a blowout, and it became a learning moment. And so be proud of yourselves, parents, because you can do this. Yeah, you can do this, and you can parent in a way that gives back to you and helps you understand just where your young person is, right, in their mind and their heart. And that's important. That's the most important. No matter what we're doing with our kids, having a good connection keeps us healthy. Yeah. It's windy right now. My hat's about to fly off.
This is a demonstration of you don't always have to be talking. Sometimes you could just walk. You guys have a great day.